So I got a ton of messages from people who listened to last week's episode with Wendy Hargraves saying that it resonated very deeply with them, what she was talking about in terms of her relationship with food. And so I thought it'd be good to dive into this a little bit further and just share with you the common things that I see as a coach after working with thousands of women. There are some very common things that come up over and over that hold us back from achieving our health goals, making healthy living sustainable so that we feel confident and can live our best lives over 40. So, for those of you that are new listeners, if you haven't listened to episodes 1, 2, 3, and 4, the first 4 episodes of the podcast, that is where I share my personal relationship with food, my journey, and how that's informed my approach as a coach. So if you want to go and listen to those episodes, I go into a lot of detail about that. Because everything that I'm doing, whether it's as a health coach, as a cook, as a writer, as a speaker, as an actor, it's all about feeding this relationship with self and our relationship with food and how that informs all of our other choices. So, when Wendy was talking last week about her relationship with food and health, she was sharing her childhood experiences and how her family systems and the habits from her parents and grandparents informed her relationship with food and seeing food as a reward, as something that was represented safety and comfort. And then she shared how her work as a food critic and as a journalist and food writer then informed her ability or inability to experience joy with food. And we're eating multiple times every day. So we want food to be this very joyful thing in our lives. And it's often not that way. So I really appreciated her transparency speaking about this. And I think that's why the episode resonated so deeply with so many of you. Our experiences have such a profound impact on our choices and our relationship with food. There's that old adage, our family knows how to press our buttons because they installed them. So I see this a lot, particularly with women. Was food a tool or a weapon in your house? A lot of women come into our programs and their mother was always on a diet, or the mother put them on a diet at a very early age. And so they learn to be in this spiral of dieting, that is how you lose weight, look beautiful, feel sexy, etc. So that was modeled from a very early age. Likewise, as Wendy was talking about last week, using food as a reward, as a source of comfort and celebration and love. I mean, we're all very familiar with that dynamic, and that's modeled all the time in society. You know, when somebody dies, we take over food. You know, when we're having a birthday, we have cake and we treat ourselves when we're having a bad day. I mean, we all do that, myself included. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. We just want to be holding it all in balance. So, with everything that I do, I am using the relationship with food as a portal of discoverability for understanding better why we do what we do, not just with food, but with all of the decisions that we make. I've never seen this not be the case with any person that I've worked with, where the way that you choose to nourish yourself or not is a direct correlation, has a direct correlation with how you treat yourself in the rest of your life and the kinds of choices you make in the rest of your life. And so often it comes down to self-esteem and love and what we believe we are capable of, what we believe we deserve. And so I've never seen this not play out in a really profound way as I speak to participants. If you have listened to episodes 1 through 4, I talk a lot about how my weekly office hours, it's a free form call where anybody in our 60-day reset can come in and ask me questions about anything, from how do I eat broccoli to how do I get my kids to eat vegetables to I don't know what to do before I work out, to then we get into the deeper stuff about what holds us back from making those better choices. It's cracking that core that is the secret for me as a coach, where I get the most traction and see the most results with people, is really getting to this, really understanding what our belief systems are around food and then how that extends to everything else. And once we start to really dive into that, we can be making choices from a much more empowered place, informed, but with a lot of love for ourselves and compassion and understanding and grace. I mean, nobody makes perfect choices all the time. That's why the mantra in our community is good, better, or best, not perfect. We're just aiming to make the next choice. And sometimes it's not the next better choice. Life isn't just a straight line of progress in one direction. Otherwise, the tune would be, duh, to be a very boring score of music. Life's more like a cha-cha. We go one step forward, two steps back, around, sideways, and upside down, and that's how we find our way. And I don't even think of some choices as mistakes, because every experience gives us the tools for the next experience and informs where we might go next if we're listening and learning from our experiences. So I find my office hour session every week one of the most rewarding things that I do in our program, because I get to really speak to people face to face and really talk about this stuff. And what's so cool about being in a group doing it is that everybody gets to listen and learn from each other. And oh my goodness, do we discover that we're more alike than we are different, and that we are all struggling with similar things. We all want the same thing, which is to be known and loved and to be better and to have a happy life and to get the things that we want. And so what holds most people back is those limiting beliefs. I mean, women come into our program for all kinds of reasons. So we have a lot of people, a lot of women in perimenopause or menopause, where you feel like a hostage in your body and what you've historically been doing just isn't moving the needle anymore. And you're not sleeping through the night and you have a lack of energy and you can't lose weight no matter what you do. And you've tried a bunch of different diets, nothing's working. And there's just a lot of frustration. And maybe you're doing all the right things, where you're eating lots of vegetables and really healthy foods and clean protein, and you're exercising. You just don't understand why things aren't moving, why you don't feel the way you want to feel, and you can't be at the weight that you want to be at. Maybe you're on hormone replacement and it's helping with some symptoms, but not everything. And we have a lot of people, a lot of women in their late 50s, 60s, and 70s who are still struggling with hormone imbalances and are getting up multiple times to pee through the night. A lot of people have gas and bloating and constipation. I mean, over 75% of women are constipated. Nothing moves if you don't move your bowels every day. And just feeling pretty withdrawn. It can be very lonely getting older, where you feel like you're getting invisible and it's all downhill from here. And that, those aches and pains and that inflammation, and, you're never going to sleep through the night and having low energy, that's just kind of part of getting older. There's just so much gaslighting that goes on by male and female doctors. Oh, it's just your age. Oh, it's really hard now to lose weight over 40. I don't know about you, but I feel like doctors are getting really lazy. They don't listen to the whole story. You get your labs, they look at your numbers. These days, a lot of them just want to write you a script for Ozempic or some other GLP-1. Maybe you don't want to be doing that. Now, if you are doing that, there's no shame in that if that's the path that you choose. But maybe you don't want to do that and you kind of want to explore a lot of different options. And there's just not a lot of listening to the whole story going on, is what a lot of our participants tell us. And there's so many crossover things with all of these symptoms. It's not just about weight. A lot of us are struggling with our weight, but it's not just about that. It's everything from digestive distress, like I was talking about, acid reflux and GERD, brain fog, difficulty concentrating, not feeling connected to life, feeling anxious and depressed. It's very, very common as our estrogen, progesterone, DHEA, and sex hormones are in decline. They're protective hormones. So naturally, our cortisol stress goes through the roof. We just feel angry at the drop of a hat, teary. Maybe you're having problems in the bedroom, pain during intercourse, or just not low libido, not even wanting anyone to touch you because you just don't know when the next hot flash is coming on. I mean, we just don't, we get told about this stuff and our friends tell us about this, but until you experience the changes in your own body and start feeling like a hostage where you don't have control of what's going on, oh gosh, it can just feel so helpless. So it makes complete sense that we just feel, oh God, do I have to resort to extreme measures? It makes complete sense to me why so many people are taking GLP-1 medications, because they've been burnt by diets. They've tried everything. They're just, maybe you're just exhausted. Makes complete sense to me. That's why there's absolutely zero judgment about it. Sometimes you just have to lose weight. Your doctor's given you the talk. You've got high blood pressure and cholesterol. Your blood sugar's all over the place. They've just said you have to lose weight or you are going to be in real trouble. You're going to get heart disease, cancer, diabetes. We're at higher risk for all of these things as we age and we go into menopause and postmenopause. The side effects of some of these GLP-1s, I mean, look, there's hundreds of lawsuits now, and everything from gastrointestinal distress to hair loss to mood swings, severe depression. A lot of the weight loss is muscle. So we need that for our bone health, our metabolic health. And so you're at a higher risk for osteoporosis anyway. What is it? 1 in 3 women over 50, 1 in 5 men over 50 develop osteoporosis, and then you're at a higher risk for fracturing your hip while you're doing the grocery shopping or something mundane like that. So I don't think anybody wants to be on those drugs, because for most people, it's a life sentence. You got to stay on them if you want to maintain your results. Now, a lot of women now are wanting to titrate off of these medications, but you don't want to get the rebound effect where you put all the weight back on. And you want to also be changing your food habits and be feeling really empowered and good about what you're doing. So whatever path you're taking, a lot of people think, oh, it's got to be hormone replacement or no hormone replacement. It doesn't have to be. Everybody's path is unique and you get to choose what your path is. But no matter what you choose, we've got to be looking after our gut health and our nutrition, and it needs to be personalized for us. And so I'm always looking at this personalization piece. And I think that's what's missing from most approaches, is really feeling seen and heard by the people that are taking care of you, your medical team. We want great clinicians, people that are up with the latest science and are really good diagnosticians and are going to help us dig and investigate what's going on with our health. But they're not going to hold our hands and help us make the changes every day. That's why I think the biggest thing that holds most people back is community. So, we're all online searching for answers. We're using Google, ChatGPT, AI, whatever system. And we've got all this access to information. I mean, we have access to more information than we have ever had before. Now, some of it may be very unreliable. It's quite alarming how much misinformation is out there. So I'm not a real big fan of Dr. Google. Can be a first port of call, but then we've got to go and see medical practitioners to get bio-individual advice for our needs. So I'm not a big fan of Dr. Google. And ChatGPT AI, we don't know where the bot is scraping for the information. And because there's so much misinformation on government websites now, particularly in the United States at the moment, it's very alarming and scary. You may be getting things that are not accurate, not based in science, and not appropriate for you. So let's assume we have good information, because there's also wonderful websites and wonderful medical institutions putting out fantastic articles, and we have access to these things, which is great. So you've got this great science-based information that's credible, but then how do you then apply that information so that you can have the transformation that you seek? Lose weight, sleep better, have energy, feel confident, have glowing skin, have balanced blood sugar and hormones and cholesterol, etc. So what I've realized as a coach is that information is not our problem. If we are discerning about where we're getting our information and we have access to credible science-based information, it's the applying of the information and then the habit forming or the changing of our behaviors and habits, and then making better choices sustainable. It's the redeciding piece. So in order to make sustainable changes, we decide that we want to make change. It's the redeciding piece where we get tripped up. And I think that the redeciding needs support. We're not supposed to do this thing called life on our own. We're wired for human connection. We're wired to feel seen and heard, to be known, to be loved, to feel like we matter, and then to get support to get where we want to go. We don't have the answers to everything. None of us do. So we want to support ourselves and surround ourselves with people who are going to help us see what we can't see, help us remove the blocks that we put in our way, and then cheer us on when we need it and pick us up when we need it. And that's why community is so key to this. The more coaching I do, the more I feel like that is the secret sauce, is community. So I used to sell a lot of self-guided programs, and they were great information. You know, you click the button, you get your downloadable PDF, you put yourself through a 7-day program, get amazing health results, but then how do you sustain that? And so with our 7-day kickstart, for example, I found that a lot of people were buying it, but they're not actually using it. And then when I offered a guided version of it with help and support and live video calls, and more people actually completed the program. And so I think that's why our 60-day reset is so successful, because to me, it combines the 4 essential ingredients: credible science-based information, access to medical practitioners, dietitians who are qualified to give personalized nutrition solutions, community, a community of people who all want to get better as well. That can, you can share stories, you can share struggles, you can share what you're doing with your family, what you did when you traveled to that place, what's holding you back, how you moved past it. And everybody gets to ask each other and learn from each other. And then the 4th key thing is delicious food. It's so much easier to make healthy changes when you love the food that you're eating. You're excited about it and you want to eat it again and you can't wait to eat it again. And that's all of that stuff together is the secret sauce for me. That's what I found. And so many people have communicated that to us, that, I thought that I just needed information, but I actually needed the support, the guidance, the camaraderie, the community, the love. There's something also about being in community with people that don't know you. You would think that that would be very intrusive or invasive, or that you'd be embarrassed to share what was going on in your heart or the struggles that you were having. But there's something about it that's actually easier, because you come into a community where people don't know you, they have no preconceived notions about you, they don't need anything from you. So there's not the charge that we have in our relationships with our family, our partner, our friends, our work colleagues, where you're bringing in all of that baggage. There is none of that when you join a community. Now, do we need to be discerning about the communities that we join? Absolutely. But once you join a community and you go, oh, wow, these people have integrity, I am feeling seen, I am heard, this is very supportive, there's no judgment, everybody's just here wanting to be better, and they really, really care. Once you find one of those communities, and the food is delicious and the information is really credible and sound, and you feel safe, it is a comfort zone, there is absolutely no limits to what you can achieve. Because the minute you start to fall back, there's a net to catch you, and you keep asking for help. I think that's a superpower: asking for help, asking for what you need, recognizing that you can't do it on your own. I think that's what holds a lot of us back, is that we're not speaking our truth. We're not actually asking for what we need. And we're embarrassed that we can't do it on our own. Well, nobody can. When you realize that nobody can, and you accept that inconvenient truth that you can't do it all on your own, myself included, then it actually becomes a really freeing truth. And it becomes less inconvenient because then it becomes very helpful and it becomes a really potent resource. So for me, that is the well, that is the deepest, richest well that we can just keep drinking from, that it's just a bottomless ocean of support. That's the difference between transactional information or support and relational support. I don't know how to be transactional. I wasn't brought up that way. My parents are very relational, they're not transactional. My father, in particular, he never meets a stranger from a very young age. You know, we'd go to the grocery store or we'd be on a plane or out in an event or something. And he always calls people by their name. If there's not a name tag, he'll ask somebody for their name. What's your name? And then he'll ask them, he'll speak to them by name for the rest of the time that he's interacting with them. It's a really beautiful way of moving through the world because even though you may never see that person again, there's just that connection in that moment. And you're holding the moment together with respect and integrity and care and love. Makes you feel better, makes them feel better. And it's really interesting. My father taught me this a really long time ago. Only unhappy people treat other people badly. When you're happy, you're not confronted by other people's happiness because you have it too. When you're unhappy, you start to behave in a way that's not in alignment with how you'd really want to behave. And I see this time and time again. My dad again did this when I was a child. Maybe we'd be at the checkout or something and somebody would be being really rude. And he'd just say, "Oh, I'm sorry. I hope your day gets better." And they'd go, "What are you talking about?" He'd say, "Well, you must be really unhappy. You must be having a really bad day to be behaving like this." 9 times out of 10, they either burst into tears and someone in their family has cancer or they've just lost their job or they're really stressed about something. And it just shifts the energy almost every time. And it's been very, very interesting to watch that. And I know that when I'm not happy, I don't behave as well as I want to. And I'm not as patient. I'm not as present. I'm distracted. That's something the older I get that I'm more and more aware of. Am I being distracted inside of my own experience? When I'm doing these interviews on the podcast, I'm completely present because you have to be listening to what the other person is saying, or you can't conduct a good interview. You can't ask the right follow-up questions or interesting follow-up questions. I don't know if there is a right follow-up question, but likewise, when I'm on my office hours and I'm working with clients, I'm incredibly present or I can't find solutions with them. But often when I'm by myself, I can get easily distracted. I'm a shiny object person, I'm always looking for the next thing, so I've got to constantly remind myself to stay present with the possibilities and the opportunities and the joy and the richness of the moment. Now, sometimes I do that without thinking now because it's a muscle and I've been exercising it. But very often I have to remind myself to bring myself into the present again. There's something about being in it as opposed to on it. When I'm on it, I feel like I've got to do something with it. I've got to achieve something. I've got to win. I've got to, I don't know, putting this pressure on myself for it to be something other than what it is. So I talk about this a lot in my office hours, particularly for women in their 60s and 70s and sometimes 80s. We have in our program where there's no doubt about it. There's only so much time on the planet, so much time in this body, in this life. And as we pass 50, it's true that we have more yesterdays than tomorrows. So we want to make them count. I mean, we should be adopting that attitude when we're 17, when we're 25, but we don't think about that. We think we're indestructible and time's going to go on forever. We become more aware of it as we age. So there tends to be this rushing of the moment. I've got to make every moment count. I've only got so much time. I've got to do this. I've got to do that. I've got to cram all this stuff in. And, when you're going 100 miles an hour, everything becomes a blur. You can't take in the scenery. You can't catch your breath. You can't take stock of things. You can't fully be in it because you're on it. And then you end up squashing the potential, holding it too tight, things like that. I certainly have to remind myself of this as well. So that's what's great about coaching as well, that as you interact with people, I get to reflect on things as people are sharing with me. Ooh. And I'll often, leave a call and it'll just reverberate, for days, sometimes weeks, sometimes months. And it just really, really is this beautiful, rich tapestry that we're all weaving together of experiences and lessons that we can all dip into. Because sometimes someone will ask something and you don't even think you wouldn't have thought to ask the question, or you didn't even know that you wanted to know until somebody else and asks it and you go, gosh, I need to know that too. Or somebody brings something up and it just pierces your heart and you go, oh, I so relate to you. So often, like I remember it, look, there's so many examples of this, but there's this lovely woman in our community, Sharon, and she came in where she was in such a low place where she'd been gaslit by a female doctor who's gone, I just don't think you're going to be able to lose weight. I think you just may want to go on Ozempic or something. She's like, I don't want to do that. I want to do it naturally. Okay, well, you're going to have to work really hard and eat less and exercise more. I mean, we just hear this so often. And she had all kinds of other health issues. She was extremely stressed and anxious, has a very high pressure job, and had plantar fasciitis and aches and pains and wasn't sleeping through the night. And I mean, there were a lot of issues going on. And she just burst into tears on one of the calls. Now, I find crying really beautiful. I don't want to exile my tears because there's all kinds of tears of grief, tears of joy, tears of release, could be all kinds of reasons. I find it a really beautiful, healthy release to express it, but we're taught to sort of, oh, I need to be embarrassed about it. So she kept saying, sorry, I'm so sorry. And all the other women just held her so beautifully and just said, I've been feeling like that today as well. Please, you've now given me permission that it's okay to let it out. So then we all just started crying and, we moved through it together, and just to know that you're not alone in your experiences. The thing, maybe it's because I'm an actor and a writer, but I always want to know the whole story, all of the itty bitty details. I want to know the beginning, the middle, the end, all the dialogue that happened in between. Like, I'm one of those people where I cannot stop watching a movie, even if it's really bad. Some people go, I'm done. I can't watch it. Nope. I got to know how it ends, even if it's really, really bad. And so I'm very, very, very interested in story and how our stories intersect and inform. And so I think that's another thing that holds us back, is that a lot of, as I was saying before, a lot of diagnosticians are looking at the numbers and the numbers only. And we got to get from A to B. Well, gosh, there's so much that happens between A to B. And there's so many ways of getting from A to B. And our emotions and our mental, our emotional, our spiritual beings, we need more than just numbers on a spreadsheet. We don't live on a device or on a spreadsheet or a piece of paper or in a book. We live as tangible, sensorial beings where stimuli, something bad on the news or a death in the family or stress at work or just you wake up on the wrong side of the bed, so to speak, and it's just you don't feel good today, can throw us for a loop and put a wrench in our plans. That John Lennon, life is what happens while we're making other plans. Oh, it's so true. Best laid plans. We can have all the plans in the world, but we've got to put tools in our toolbox that help us be resilient and help us decide and redecide that we want to make better choices despite what else is going on. And again, that's where that safety net of community is just so incredibly important. I also like to hire people. All my dietitians are the same way. They want to know the whole story. They're just really, really good listeners. It's not just about the numbers. It's not just about, what you want to achieve. It's your personality, your lifestyle, who you're living with, what your family members like to do. Do you have teenage children? Do you have little children? Do you have elderly parents you're caring for? Are you in retirement? What workout are you doing? What hobbies do you have? What's held you back before? What are you struggling with in your personal life? I mean, there's just so many things. We give a member questionnaire to everyone in our program because we get to it's quite detailed. And then we spend a lot of time responding to it to help develop personalized plans, taking into account all of this information. And then we help you tweak it, which is why the program's 60 days. And we can just keep going back and forth about what's working, what's not working, take what you like and leave the rest, so to speak. Giving you this box of nutrition tools and wellness tools, and then helping you pull out the ones that apply to you. There is no one blanket diet that works for everybody. And anyone that's trying to sell that is just selling snake oil. It's not possible because we all have different genes. We're different ages, different hormone levels, different health status, different things we like to eat. I mean, this is why there is no one diet. You can be vegan, vegetarian, pescatarian, omnivore. I mean, there's just so many options, and we only label it so that people understand what we do and do not want to eat. But there's so much nuance in and around that. So really understanding what drives you, going back to what I was speaking about at the beginning about this relationship with food, what drives our choices, what gives you joy, what lights you on fire, what repels you, what triggers you. These all play a role in the decisions that we make and then how we feel about it. And so our environment dictates our performance and success. So that's another thing about person to person contact and why we thrive with that, because we need honesty and empathy and humor. We need humor. No AI bots giving me all of that right now. I mean, we are seeing young people marrying robots. We're seeing people online having these facsimiles of human connection. And yes, they're getting more sophisticated by the day, but maybe it's just because I'm in my 50s. I'd love to hear your perspective about this, but I need a physical, living, breathing human that's unpredictable and is going to listen and come up with an authentic, real response in the moment, informed by a lot of information, but is going to meet me with eye contact and really feel my energy and move with that so that we can get into a rhythm with each other. I need that as a human being. And, I know that the younger generation has been brought up on devices. They've been brought up on the internet in a way that people in their 40s and 50s and 60s, 70s, 80s have not. So we know what life was like before the internet, before AI, before Google, before online shopping, all the things. I had to go and look up the Encyclopedia Britannica, go to the library to get information. I mean, it took such a long time. You had to really, really work to seek out the information. But it doesn't matter which generation we're in, this human connection piece is just so key. Because, oh God, life is messy. We are all messy. And we want to clean up the mess all the time. We want to, we often feel embarrassed about the mess, that we're not perfect and there's stuff going on and there's things we don't know and there's things that aren't in place. And I mean, my goodness, that's all of us. I mean, I even find myself getting embarrassed about that, particularly when, hundreds of people in any given week are coming to me for answers and I want to give them the answers, but I don't have all the answers. That's why we have a very diverse team of people. And as knowledgeable as I am about health and nutrition, I do not have a medical license. I do not want to be another influencer with a bunch of cookbooks, albeit, millions of followers on social media, hundreds of thousands of people bought my books. So what? There's a million of me. I am not qualified to give medical advice. So I did not want to create another influencer style program. It had to be run by people with medical licenses. That's why we have a team of medical practitioners. It is so, so important that we are being very discerning about the people that we are placing to care for us. I mean, we just have to be that way. But the messiness is where the magic happens. Always in my life. And I see it as a coach all the time. When we allow ourselves to be messy and just be vulnerable and say we don't know and we need help, oh gosh, that's when we just open up so many more possibilities. moving away from the shoulds, going back to what I was saying about family and how they know how to press our buttons because they installed them. I see so many people, myself included sometimes, I have to catch myself in this, living in the shoulds. I should be doing this. I should know this. I should be like this. I shouldn't be like this. Instead of just, I can, I will. What do you want? And being present in that deeper understanding and leading from the heart, listening from the heart instead of the head. The ego always wants to assert itself and to go back to what we know, because that's where we feel safe. Our brains are just wired for safety. So going out on a limb and doing something different outside of what you know feels very, very scary. Another thing that I see a lot that holds a lot of people back is feeling like if you exit your family system, it's a betrayal. I see this a lot where a lot of women will come into our program and they come in because there's a history of heart disease, of breast cancer, of some kind of a disease, and a whole bunch of family members have died of this or are ill with it right now. And I don't want to end up like those family members. I want to be healthier. I want to do things better. And then when they start to feel really, really good and start getting amazing results, they then start to sabotage a little bit and start to pull back a little bit. And I want to invite them back in. What's going on? What's going on? And then when we start to drill a bit deeper, we get to that if it's kind of like people that are the first in their family to go to college. There's so much pride in that. Oh God, it's a beautiful thing. And the family feels so much pride, but and the person does, but often it's also accompanied by guilt that I'm going beyond where everybody else in my family is gone, and now I'm going to be other. I'm leaving the nest, I'm leaving the system, and then I'm not going to belong, or I'm betraying them and I'm leaving them behind. I see this a lot every single week. That dynamic is playing out. So I'd be interested to hear if you have that experience or that resonates with you. As I get older and the more I coach, again, I'll go back to what I was saying before, that happiness and joy and achieving our goals is all tied up in continuing to have a deeper understanding about what drives our choices so that we can respond instead of react in a knee-jerk way as from the triggers from childhood. So I always ask every participant, what is your superpower? That's part of the questionnaire. Why do I ask that? Because when we're doing something new and we feel like we're out of our depth and, oh, I don't know what I'm doing, we can start to feel like we're a hot mess, that everything is a mess. We don't know what we're doing. We're hopeless. We're pathetic. Nothing's going to work. Everybody else has got their shit together and I'm absolutely hopeless. I'm a blithering mess out here, just grasping and I don't know what I'm doing. Well, when you own your superpowers, what you do really, really well and what other people come to you for, and the contributions that you make to your family, to your community, to your relationships that make the world a better place. When you remind yourself of those things and you anchor yourself to that, it buoys you. It keeps you buoyant and it keeps you balanced as you're navigating the scary territory of doing new things and feeling like you're out of your depth maybe in the beginning. So I'll just give you an example. So my superpowers, and I'll be really honest about this. I had to have help to recognize what these are because, and this happens a lot. People will say, I don't know. And I'll send it back and I'll go, yeah, you do. Just own it. Say it out loud. Own it. Own what you do really well. There's something. And then they come back and they do. It's beautiful. But often we just don't give ourselves permission to go, yeah, I do that really well. Or maybe you don't see it. And then your friends and family, some people that know you really well, without judgment, will help you see that. So years ago, a dear friend of mine, Michelle, helped me see, oh, you attract extraordinarily generous people because that's how you are. And I went, you're right. I do have these beautiful people. All my friends said that, oh, you've got the best friends. I do. I really do. And I've interviewed a lot of them on the podcast and I will keep interviewing them. So you'll get to know them as well. They're extraordinary people, beautiful people. We attract the love that we need. We attract the love that we want. And It's a wonderful thing. And then my partner Scott years ago helped me see. He said, "Oh, you make people believe that they can do anything. That's a superpower of yours." And yeah, I think that's why I can coach people so well, is because I absolutely can do that. So have a think about, and then putting fabulous flavors together, with food. I just love to do that. It's like my happy place. That's why the recipes are all so delicious. So have a think about what your superpowers are. It doesn't have to be one, it can be many. If you've got more than three, oh, amazing. That's like my happy place. I will dance with joy for that. Think about what are your superpowers. Now, our superpowers are our Achilles heel when not held in balance. So we want to be maintaining a balance of self-care and care for others, a balance of self-care and fun. I don't think anything beautiful comes out of extremes. Now, sometimes we have to go to extremes in order to find the balance. It's like a seesaw. You're either down at the bottom or you're up at the top, waiting for the weight to be redistributed. You can't do it on your own. Whereas when you sit in that middle area of more balance, there's more room to move, and we can go up and down and kind of play, and we don't need somebody else to help us move that. So I like to use that analogy quite a bit. So are you leading from the heart? Are you ignoring what you want? Are you suppressing your life force energy, your spirit, your true self? What's holding you back from owning who you are? There's something about this belief that a lot of us have. And look, we all have the I'm not enough story swimming around in there. I've talked about this a lot on the podcast. And I spoke in episodes 1 to 4 about how the I'm not enough story typically in my life manifests as I'm too much. Or I'm too loud. I'm too opinionated. I'm too ambitious. I'm too thirsty. I'm too greedy for life. People are going to be repelled by that, and every time I try and dull who I really am and be vanilla and try to be all things to all people, I screw things up because I'm not being completely authentic. If you come into our community, this is who you're going to get as a coach. I am incredibly honest. I'm incredibly present, and I cut to the core of things, and we find solutions quickly because I don't know any other way to be. But I have to hold it in balance because the more I coach, the more my intuitive hits get stronger. So I have very, very keen intuitive hits about everybody that I speak to. And I just am able to cut to the core and I know what they need. It happens over and over and over in office hours to the point where it freaks some people out. They're like, how do you know that? I think it's about cultivating your intuition and trusting it, giving yourself permission to trust your intuition, and then having the courage to have the courage to accept and live by the consequences of that intuition. As long as you're giving it with love and integrity, not hurting anybody, and you have an intention to help, not harm. But sometimes we can hide in that. We can hide in our superpowers a little bit. So I'll give you an example in my life is that I have to hold my deep care for other people and the fact that I'm constantly helping find solutions for other people. I have to hold that in balance to make sure that I'm topping up my own cup, that I'm engaging in my own self-care practices, that I'm constantly putting myself in a container of nourishment, self-love, so that I then can show up again fully and completely present, giving with a whole heart. I have to do that. That's just something that has to happen. And that's something that I see holding a lot of people back is this belief and guilt about spending time on me. Oh gosh, I hear this every single week. I feel guilty spending time and money on me. I'm a mother. I should be looking after my kids. I've got work. I've got to look after my partner. I'm a volunteer at my church or whatever it might be. So many things are pulling at you. And as women, we're nurturers. Of course, we want to take care of people. We want to love people. I mean, that makes us beautiful people, that we want to be generous and kind and give to others. But there's a fine line between helping and being generous and then hiding, because it's a distraction from looking at some things we want to look at in ourselves. And often I see so many women giving, and then they're eating crumbs. They're actually starved of nourishment themselves. So, are you playing small? Are you hiding and dimming your light? Are you hiding in other people's stories? I talk about this in episodes 1 to 4. I have been very ensconced in that dynamic in previous chapters in my life of hiding in other people's stories. And so coming and standing present in what is and looking and listening takes courage. Oh man, does it take a fierce kind of love for yourself to get healthy and stay healthy and believe that you deserve the very best, no matter what is going on and threatens to destabilize you. That you believe that you deserve the very best and that you deserve to spend some time each day on you. And when you do that, it doesn't have to be hours and hours, it doesn't have to be some huge expensive trip to a spa or a retreat or whatever. It can be something really small, like just laying on the daybed and reading your favorite book, a chapter of your favorite book for 20 minutes, going for a beautiful walk, doing something that tops you up, just spending just some time with yourself. Could be cooking a beautiful salad just for you. Gosh, there's no more important person than you. That old adage of put your own mask on and then assist others. I mean, there's really something to that. When you practice self-care, you actively and mindfully nourish yourself and you cultivate greater awareness about why you do what you do. You're actually able to give more to the people that you love because you're showing up as the better or best version of yourself. Stronger, healthier, more aware, listening more keenly. When we've got clean pathways just on a physiological level, when we're in better health in our bodies, the downloads are clear, our intuition is clear, there's nothing clouding our judgment. So there really is something to that gut intuition, that gut brain connection. Our gut sends messages up to our brain. Our gut controls what our brain is doing. That's just a physiological thing in the body, which is why everything that we do is centered around gut health. Our gut, our blood sugar, our hormones and metabolism are all connected. All connected. And so when we clean up our gut health, everything else gets better from there. This time thing is something that comes up over and over and over, like I was saying before, particularly with older participants, but with everybody. We've all got our version, our understanding of time and what is worth spending our time on. The value of time. That's something that we get to decide. And it changes as we age. That's certainly my experience and certainly the people that I coach. There is only so much time, no matter what our age is. So I'm always going for quality. I don't know about you. I'm hoping I get quantity as well, but always quality. And so we have to be present in order to experience quality. So we're not time travelers. We can't control time, but we can control our experience of it by being present and experiencing the fullness of the moment. So deciding that this is your time. This is your time. And you get to choose what you're doing with it and who you share it with. Now, obviously, yes, there's non-negotiables and things we absolutely have to do. But none of us are working 24 hours a day. That's not possible, or we die. We have to sleep. None of us are doing that. But we fool ourselves into thinking that there's no time to do this. So we have to, every yes is accompanied with a no. There's only so many yeses to give. So if we say yes to better health, yes to eating better, exercising more, sleeping more, resting more, managing our stress, saying no to things in order to say yes to the things we want more. That's why a yes is always accompanied by a no. We need to be really discerning about what our yeses and our nos are, and we get to choose. And so when we say yes to better health, yes to achieving our goals, yes to change, we got to let some other stuff go. We got to say no to some stuff. And that's hard. Change is scary. We've all got certain feelings about that. They're conflicted. If you ask somebody how they feel about change, most people will say they're terrified of change. And then other people will say they get really excited and invigorated and they get lit up by change. Well, if you think about change, if we think about where that sits in the body, fear and excitement activate in the same place in the body. It's just a different expectation of the outcome. With fear, we believe that whatever's going to happen is going to destroy us, be terrible, kill us, basically, in one way or another. With excitement, we believe it's going to be amazing. It's going to be fabulous. It's going to be a good thing for us. I found that, and with my own personal experience and as a coach, very rarely do we regret making the change. We just regret that we didn't do it sooner, particularly if it's a really positive change. But it's still disruption, and that comes with a lot of feelings. I say this at the beginning of every cycle of our program is this is disruptive. This can be different than what you've done before in a variety of ways, depending on how you ate and how you were before joining our community. Now, while ultimately we will make sure it's a positive disruption, that's why it happens live, so we can help you tweak things if things aren't working. But it's disruption nonetheless. So we need to hold that with care and love and give ourselves grace and understanding and ask for help when we need it and all the things. So this whole change thing, we're changing all the time. We're not the same every day, even though we might feel like we are. We're in a different place than we were yesterday. Every day is an opportunity filled with possibilities and opportunities if we choose to see it that way. Always chances all over the place that we can grab onto. So we are changing and the world is changing no matter what we do. We can't stop change, but we get to choose how we change. And I get really excited by seeing people change in a way that helps them get what they want, whether it be their health goals or just feeling more happy and confident and experiencing more joy. When you feel confident about the way that you look and the way that you feel in your body, you unleash a power that I can't even really give words to it. So there's something about deciding where you spend your time and who you spend your time with. The other thing that I hear a lot that holds people back is, well, I just don't have the willpower. I don't have the willpower to do that. I always just feel like I want a donut or something. I don't actually think it's about willpower. I don't know where that sits in my body. I don't have a really good understanding of that. I think it's about love and support. I think it's about delicious food. I think it's about confidence. I think it's about being seen and known, feeling like you've got a net no matter what happens. So you can jump, you can leap, and you'll be caught no matter what happens. And when you are loving the food that you're eating, like I was talking about before, this delicious food piece, it's so incredibly important. I mean, I love to eat more than I love to breathe, let me tell you. I just love to eat so much. And very often we're eating with family and friends, celebrating things. We're eating dinner with our family, or we're celebrating a birthday. We're out at a work event, or, we want it to be joyful. Has to be. We want to love what we're eating. So every bite is like, oh my God, that's the most delicious thing I've ever eaten. Like I develop every recipe. Like if that's the recipe, the last thing that I eat, I'll be happy. Or if the New York Times picks that one recipe out of all the recipes I've ever created, would I be fine with it? And the answer is no. It doesn't make it in the collection. Now, are you going to like every recipe? No. Because we like different foods, There's things that I love, and then a year later, I'm like, oh, I don't feel like that anymore, I mean, of course, those things change, but overall, the flavors, the vibrancy of the food, the deliciousness, it helps you stick to things. And then once you start to feel better, and you're sleeping through the night, and you have more energy, and you feel more confident, and you're fitting into your clothes, and you're not having hot flashes anymore, or sweats, or you don't have gas and bloating, you're going to the bathroom, you're not constipated anymore, or whatever it might be. You then get your blood panels and your blood sugars regulated, your high blood pressure and cholesterol's down to normal levels, and all the things that happen when you make healthy changes. When you start to, look, I get this all the time on the final call. Someone's like, I did not know how bad I was feeling until I felt this good. I've never felt this good. I didn't actually know that you could feel this good in your body because I've just never felt that way. It's like a whole new world. And when you feel like that, you don't want to go back. So willpower doesn't even factor into it because the potency is there. You're living in the promise. You're not chasing the promise. You're living in the promise. That's what I meant by living in it as opposed to on it. You're in it and you are in control of it. And it's a magical, empowering place to be. And it's like, oh, woman, hear me roar. There is no stopping me now. And then it has a flow-on effect to the rest of your life. So again, I hear this all the time. I thought I was joining a nutrition program, and I did get that. I got all this amazing information and all this dietitian support, and I know what to do now. Finally, I know what to do. And I feel so confident within that. But I also just learned so much about myself, about my choices, and about how my relationship with food is affecting these other parts of my life. And so now I'm more empowered at work. I'm more present in my relationships. I'm making better choices in other parts of my life. I'm more courageous. I'm more brave. I'm more open to change. I'm just not as afraid of life anymore. I'm ready to suck the marrow out of it. I'm like, yes. And that's why the celebration call is always my favorite call of every cycle. It's so gratifying and beautiful to be in celebration of that within ourselves and others. It's just such a beautiful thing. The other thing I get a lot is I don't like to cook. I don't want to make recipes. I hate to cook. I can't cook. I never learned how to cook. Well, unless you're going to get a personal chef or you're going to pick up food on the way home, which is possible, you can eat out. We have a lot of people that get chefs and people to cook their food if that's what you can afford, but a lot of us can't do that. You don't have to spend hours in the kitchen and be Cinderella to make healthy living a reality. There's lots of 10-minute, 15-minute, 20-minute things. You can pick up a roast chicken on your way home if you eat chicken and make a quick salad. There's so many quick, easy things that you can do to eat really, really well and be healthy. I think of cooking as one of the greatest acts of self-love, to actively nourish your body so that you can show up as the best version of yourself. Look, it shocks people when I say, in our community, I don't actually love to cook. I don't love the act of chopping onions and sauteing vegetables and then cleaning up all the dishes. I do not love that. But what I do love is eating really delicious food. And what I love even more is feeling fantastic in my body, sleeping through the night, having energy, beautiful glowing skin, all my levels. And I can do anything I want to do. You don't want your health to be the reason why you say no to anything. They've got to be your yeses and your nos from an empowering place, not a place of deficit or limitation. You never want your physical health to be the reason why you say no to anything. The other thing is money. That's a big one, because we've all got a finite amount of money right now. The money that we have is the money that we have. I feel guilty spending money on myself, or I don't want to spend money on that. I think about money spent on health and quality of life as an investment. You're not spending the money or wasting the money. You're investing in your present, but your future. So going back to the time thing, we're buying more time because we're not going to die sooner than we have to from a disease or something because we didn't take care of ourselves. I'm investing now so that I can feel great today and I can continue to feel great and age really, really well. So whether you want to have an active retirement and, be able to bike ride in Denmark with your family, or hike, up to Mount Everest, or whatever it might be, whatever your dream is, to go walking around Paris all day without aches and pains and having to sit down. I mean, there's so many things that hold us back from living the lives that we want to live. Maybe you're a runner and you want to keep being a runner in your 70s. Maybe there's some hobbies that you've always dreamed of doing. Can you do it in the body you're living in now? We want to be able to do everything that we want to do. So if you want to be healthier, feel more joy, achieve your health goals, lose weight, sleep better, have more energy, be in control of your body and know what your body needs, and make a plan to nourish your body in a personalized way that's going to work for you. And you want to investigate your relationship with food and how it affects your other choices and empower yourself with more awareness. Oh, I would love to meet you. And my dietitians would as well. And I would love to talk to you on office hours, talk to you on the video calls, respond to your questionnaire, help you figure out what the missing pieces are. It's kind of like a puzzle. My dietitians and I, we get really excited and we love it when something new comes along and we can just really get our hands in there and help you figure it out. It's like a puzzle. They're not problems, they're puzzles. And we can always find solutions. You just got to keep digging. You got to keep trying things, working things out, figuring out what your food triggers are, figuring out which foods make your body feel good and which foods don't. A big part of our education is around gut health, but it's about protein. So many women are not even getting in half the protein that they need. How much protein you need is dependent on your health status, medications you're taking, your weight, your activity levels, your age, and so forth. So many factors play a role. So there's some very general guesstimations of how much protein we need. It's not about more, 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 more. When we take in more protein than we can actually digest and assimilate, it actually just gets, the excess just gets stored as fat. When we have too little, we don't have any energy. Our body can't function properly. Our metabolism doesn't work properly. Nothing works. I mean, protein's responsible for every metabolic process in the body. And so this protein piece is a game changer, particularly over 40. It was absolutely the missing piece for me. So when I went into perimenopause and I started getting some symptoms, I'm like, what are you talking about? I eat so well. I don't know anyone that eats healthier than I do. You know, that's a phrase. I'm sure there are people, but that's how I felt. Wait a second. I'm doing all the right things. Why am I getting hot flashes? Why am I getting night sweats? Why am I sleeping through? Oh my God, this is awful. I'm not going to live like this. I was eating really, really healthy. I wasn't eating strategically. And eating strategically goes so far beyond eating healthy. It's about discovering what's going to work for your body right now at this age. So once I got super, super strategic, I figured out what my food triggers were at that point in my life. So I'll give you an example. Soy. Oh, I love tofu and tempeh and edamame. I would just get a hot flash every single time I ate it. And by drilling down on some of this, I went, ooh, now I can eat soy and I don't experience any of those symptoms. My gut health is better. I'm in a different phase in my life now. So just because something might be causing a problem now doesn't mean it's always going to. Maybe it will, but maybe not. I don't also think that achieving our health goals is about what we take away. It's about what we add. And I think that's the biggest thing that I would love you to take away from this. It's about what you add. I think a lot we focus on, oh, I can't have this, I can't do that. Oh, that's bad for you. That's bad for you. Again, it's about balance. It's about balance. I eat cake and drink a glass of wine just like the next person. I just don't do it every day. So again, it's about that good, better, or best, not perfect. Just aiming to make the next choice. We become the sum of our choices. So what are your choices saying about you? I want to tell a beautiful, loving story with my choices. Now, I don't always make loving choices. Everybody has, we make choices and we go, oh, God, I don't know about that. But again, I don't think of them as mistakes. I'm just like, okay, gosh, why did I do that? And what can I learn from it? Okay, interesting. Not with shame or judgment, just gentle curiosity. Just like Wendy was saying last week, curiosity is a wonderful, beautiful thing. That unending curiosity, just being curious about everything. And what is the best thing to be curious about? You. And then we extend that curiosity to others. And what happens when my shit and your shit collide? And that's where we take joint responsibility for the dynamic in relationship. Oh, such a juicy thing. I could just talk about it all day long. I would love to hear what resonated with you from this conversation. If you would like to join our 60-day reset, you can learn more about it at ithastobeme.com/reset. And the best way to get a real sense of a lot of what I've been talking about this, the power of community and personal support, is to watch some of the video testimonials from our members. I've also done several episodes where I've interviewed members of our program, beautiful people who you'll meet. If you join our community, you'll meet some of these people. And they're always happy to answer your questions. You could also book a 15-minute video call with me where you can get on and ask me if our program is the right fit, and I'll ask you some questions and we'll get to know you. It doesn't serve me, our team, or you if it's not the right fit. And I want you to go and spend your time and money on something that's actually going to work. There's just so many things out there promising all of these things. And, if you're anything like the other people in our community, you've been burned by spending money on stuff and going, this didn't work, or you weren't listening to me, or I didn't feel like I got the support that I needed, or whatever it might be. So we have a refund policy too. If it's not the right fit, we'll give you a refund so you can go and spend your time and money on something that works. I'm just so passionate about helping particularly all kinds of women of all ages, but particularly women over 40. It's just, it is more challenging as we get older. Absolutely. Just because our hormones are in free fall and we're older and we've had more years on the planet and more exposure to toxins, etc. But it's not impossible. It's not too late to turn things around and achieve your goals. You can lose weight. You can sleep through the night, no matter your age. That's not an age-related thing. You can have energy. You can have regulated blood sugar and optimized hormones and healthy blood pressure and cholesterol and all the things. You can go to the bathroom and not be constipated. You can have glowing skin. I mean, honestly, Jen, who I interviewed on the podcast a while back, she said something that I still really love and I steal it all the time. There's that saying, good actors borrow, great actors steal. But she said when she was sharing her experience in the final call, she said, she's a healthcare provider. So she came in because it was science-based. She was a very busy mom of teenagers, very busy life. And she thought, I don't have time for this. I don't have time to spend on me because I've got all these other things going on. And she said, I learned that I can take time for myself and the benefits will be great. And she said, Skinny 60 didn't make me feel 10 years younger. It made me feel 10 years more alive. And I thought, oh, isn't that what we all want? To feel more alive. It's a difference between functionality and vitality. We want to be feeding vitality and sucking every opportunity out of this life and having a joyful, beautiful, connected experience. Are you seeking connection, or are you actively placing yourself in containers of disconnection? I see that a lot. And if you are doing that, what are you afraid of? That you'll get found out? Well, if you're hanging out with the right people, if you get found out, people are going to accept you and hold you anyway and love you. And I think that's, again, I'll go back to that core need that's the core human need in all of us, to be known and loved. And it's amazing how you can come into a community of strangers. And it is beautiful by the end of the 60 days. We're all friends. We're all just holding each other and helping each other be better. So if you would like to join our community, please go to ithastobeme.com/reset. And please leave a review. It helps all of these platforms know that this is good content. It's valuable content. I'd also just love to hear what you think. You can also join our Facebook group and post a comment in there, or you can shoot me an email. I answer all my emails personally, and I'd love to hear what resonated with you, what you're struggling with, what's working for you, what isn't. I just love having those conversations, and I'd love to hear your story.
I want to hear about your It Has to Be Me story. So head on over to ithastobeme.com/stories to share it in our free community. You can also join the conversations we're having about this episode and others. I'm Tess Masters. Join me next week and we'll dive inside another great story to help us go from dreaming to doing.